Right, so welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam session today. So we will begin with Guru Pranam Mantra and the Mangalacharya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Dutam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Chayatam Shrato Pangur Mama Manda Matirgati Matsarvasvapadam Bojo Radha Padanamohana Divyat Vrindaranyo Kalpadrumadaha Srimad Ratna Gado Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Prastali Vihi Sevyamano Smarami Srimanda Sarasarambi Vamsivata Statastisah Rakshande Nur Swanergopir Gopinata Shriyasna Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Dharma Projito Kaitavo Atra Paramo Nirmat Saranam Satam Vedyam Vastavamatra Vastu Sivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam. This Bhagavata Purana is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion. For the welfare of all, such truth uproots the threefold miseries. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Parerishvaraha Sadhyo Hridi Avarudyate Atra Kritibihi Shushrusubhi Stakshanat. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nigamakalapatarorganitam phalam sukhamukaram ritadravya samhitam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika puribhavakaha nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavatir naishtaki. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishihi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasti Ayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good for all people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. त्वयिमेनन्दविषया मतिर्मधुपतिया सकृत् रतिम् उद्वहत तदा गङ्गेवोगम् मुदन्वतिः. O Lord of sweetness, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction or atim be constantly drawn unto you alone without being diverted to anyone else. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vigna Vinashanarasmhai Punamini Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Ishwaram Sri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Om Tat Sat. So today we especially like to dedicate this Srimad Bhagavatam session to His Holiness Jaipataka Swami Maharaj, and we pray for his health, and we pray that he will be able to come out of whatever difficulties that is with regards to his health, and will be with us again. So, right. And we hope that whatever we are speaking today and discussing will be pleasing to all the Vaishnavas. So, Hare Krishna, welcome devotees to the Srimad Bhagavatams. So, we are doing the second canto, and this is chapter 6. The title is Puruṣa-sūkta confirmed, because this chapter is confirming what is mentioned in the Rig Veda and in the Yajur Veda. So in there is some passage called the Puruṣa-sūkta, where the Supreme Lord is glorified with various elements of this material universe, as well as to clearly establish his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or in other words, Purusha, the ultimate person. So, and almost the same verses are found in Srimad Bhagavatam, which once again reconfirms how Srimad Bhagavatam is actually the essence of the Vedas. So, this is now part 4. We have done 3 parts before. So, let's just quickly do a recap. So, what have we seen previously in this chapter? So previously in this chapter, we have seen how Sukadev Goswami is describing the Virat Rupa. Virat Rupa means the universal form of the Lord. So, and lots of descriptions were given. Not just descriptions, it is connecting, it is bridging basically, is connecting the form, the different parts of the body of the Lord to the various material elements within this universe. So, for example, his mouth, his voice is like where the sound comes from. All the Vedas have a place in from the voice of the Lord, right? So like that, and we also heard about various aspects, like how his hair on the head represents the various clouds, and how different parts of his body we'll discuss. We'll speak about various components of the Lord. So it's not only the material elements, it's not only the bhutas, the earth, water, fire, air, ether, and all the elements. It is also the subtle indriyas, the jnanindriyas, the karmendriyas. In other words, the senses, the subtle senses, the gross senses, how each one is connected with the body parts of the Lord, and also the devatas connected to different body parts of the Lord. So we've gone through these descriptions, verses 1 to 17 previously. Uh, so basically, what is happening is Brahma, the person who is actually narrating this particular points, is Lord Brahma to Narada. So it is a conversation that's happening between Brahma and Narada, which is being repeated by Sukadev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, and which is being repeated by Suta Goswami and Saunaka Rishi in the sages of Naimisharanya. So 3 conversations. So that's basically what parampara is all about. We do not concoct our own solutions or our own ideas. We refer back to the parampara. So all these things already there. So basically is looking at that. So we heard about Virat Rupa's Indriya, the senses. We heard about how it connects each of the parts and the senses of the Lord, connects to the different objects of the senses, and to the different elements, and to the different devatas. And we also heard about basically samsara. So, sorry, Shandini Shakti. So so now I remember. So basically, the Brahmaji was also talking about how all of these energies of the Lord, right? It's only one part, 1/4, 1/4 of the energies of the Lord. So whatever material creation is only 1/4 of the energy of the Lord. And that also only one part of the energy, which is called Sandhini Shakti. Now, I've mentioned this previously. The Lord's spirit, the Lord has numerous energies, unlimited energies. But we can categorize these unlimited energies into spiritual energy and so-called material energy. Although it is so-called material energy, it is actually a shadow of the spiritual energy. So that's material creation, right? But it's all coming from the Lord. So within the spiritual energy sphere, you can further subdivide it into Sandhini Shakti or Samvit, and Chit Shakti and Haladini Shakti. So three different. Again, these are broad categories. So Sandhini Shakti, represented by Balaram, is the potency for supporting and maintaining all of creation. So that means the material world as well as the spiritual world, they are all being maintained and supported and is going on via the Sandhini Shakti. And with this Sandhini Shakti, so Sandhini Shakti primarily it focuses upon the eternity principle of the Lord. So the Lord is known as Sat Chit Ananda, right? So Sat is eternity, Chit is consciousness or knowledge, and Ananda is bliss. So Radharani is associated with Hladini Shakti, and Balaram is associated with Sandhini Shakti directly, and Chit Shakti is directly under the Lord, Supreme Lord Krishna. Of course, all three are under the Supreme Lord, but you can separate them like this just to understand the different potencies. So within this Sandhini Shakti, it is described that 1/4 of that Sandhini Shakti is basically the creation of the material universes, just the material universes. So sometimes it's called Ekapada Shrishti. Shrishti means creation. Ekapada means 1/4. 1/4 of this energy is for material universes. Whereas in the spiritual world, the Lord is the Shakti of the Lord is Tripada. Tripada means 3/4 of the energy of the Sandhini Shakti is invested in the spiritual world. Hmm. Right. So we come across Sandhini Shakti. So in this Sandhini Shakti, from verses 18 until 22, we heard about the difference between Ekapada or material creation and spiritual world or Tripada. So the qualities, what are the different? So we talked about 4 different qualities. So the first quality is samsara, cycle of whether there is samsara present or not. So within the samsara, what is samsara? Samsara is basically the cycle of birth and death. It consists of janma, which is birth, vyadi, which is disease, jara, which is old age, and mrityu, which is death. So these 4 constitutes what is called samsara. It's like a cycle. It goes on and on and on and on. So this happens in the Ekapada Shakti potency of the Lord, which is, what is Ekapada Shakti? The material creation, the material universe. So this is only there in the material universe. In the spiritual universe, in the spiritual creation, in the spiritual world known as Tripada Shakti, so there is no samsara, zero. What about Bayam? So Bayam is also present in this material creation, but it's not there in the spiritual creation. What is Bayam? Bayam is fear. Hmm? And then what about the quality of the residents? So of course there are residents both in the spiritual world and in the material world. So in the material world, in Ekapada Shakti, right, who are the residents fit for this place? So those who are fit for this place is listed down, right? Here, they are called, first of all, Grihamedis. So we have mentioned this many times. Grihamedis. Grihamedi was the first point which was mentioned by Sukadev Goswami in the first chapter of this canto. So Sukadev Goswami says, don't be a Grihamedi because that's the most dangerous. If you are a Grihamedi, then there is no hope of escaping from this material creation. So Griha Medi means, okay, it says my connection is unstable. Let me just check. Looks okay. Right. So anyway, right. So Griha Medi means one who is living his life only for the satisfaction of his senses. That's it. And he has no time for anything else other than that. Eating, mating, sleeping, defending, and satisfaction of his gross senses, and that's it. No time for spiritual life, no time for hearing, no time for chanting, no time for seva, no time for anything else. So that is a Grihamedi. So this is a place suitable for them. What else is the nature of the residents? Is Abrihat Vrataha. Abrihat Vrataha means they are not celibate. They cannot maintain celibacy. So the vow of celibacy, we talked about it to some length in the previous session, how Prabhupada says, if we cannot ultimately control our sense gratification, and sense gratification, the king of all sense gratification is sexual pleasure. So therefore, that is most important to control, particularly because at the end of all the spiritual activities that we perform, if we are unable to control our sense gratification, that means we are not yet ready to come out of this ekapada world, right? This ekapada creation, this material creation. So that is one thing. What else? Desire for dominion. So desire for dominion is they want to control, they want to lead, they want to be the enjoyer, they want to be the Purusha. So those who have this consciousness, right, at the end of life, if they still hold on to these consciousness, then they cannot leave the material. So that the whole program of the spiritual life, the whole program is the spiritual life is not about rituals, it's not about or anything else actually. Everything that we do in spiritual life must eventually bring us to this point where we don't have these kind of attachments. So that's how one of the ways we Prabhupada last time when they asked Prabhupada, how do we know when we are advancing in our spiritual life? So Prabhupada says two things. We can understand how much we are advancing in spiritual life. To what extent, the first thing is to what extent we are becoming attached to Krishna and anything to do with Krishna. So that is one yardstick by which we can understand whether we are advancing or not. So that means attachment to his holy name, attachment to his devotees, attachment to his seva, attachment to his lila, attachment to his rupa, attachment to hearing, attachment to his prasadam. So this is attachment to Krishna, right? But the second yardstick is to what extent we are detached to anything which has nothing to do with Krishna or which is due to sense gratification. So anything which is up, and so our detachment to our own sense gratification, to what extent? So that is also a second yardstick. So both has to happen, right? But the spiritual process is so nice that as we become attached to Krishna, our our material desires will reduce, but ultimately it's our choice. We have to make that choice. We have to use our mind to make that choice that we want to completely let go of these lower things and hold on to Krishna. So that is Sarva Dharmam Parityagya, abandoning all forms of religion or whatever, and then completely surrendering to the lotus feet of the Lord. So desire for dominion is one of them. So we want to be the controller, we want to be the Lord, we want to be the master, we want puja, we want gain, we want followers, we want distinction, we want honor, we want all these things. So this is all negative qualities which will not work to bring us. These are called anarthas, right? And what else is the quality of those within the material world? Satchit Ananda don't have. Zero. So no Satchit Ananda. So we are not eternal. We are not all cognizant, fully conscious of our soul, that we are the soul, and we are not blissful. So that's the nature of the Ekapada. What about Tripada? What about the nature of the spiritual world? So spiritual world, there is no samsara. There is no janma, vyadi, jara, and mrityu. And there is no bayam, no fear. And the nature of the residents over there, they are aprajanam. Aprajana means without birth. They are eternal. And desire, and what is their desire? The desire of those, so this is very important. What is the desire of those who live in the spiritual world? Their desire is only one, to do bhakti seva. That is their desire. And what else is the nature of those people? The nature of those people is vidya, full of knowledge. So these are the characteristics of those in the spiritual world. And what about Satchit Ananda? Yes, they are just like the Lord. The form of the Lord is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, right? And the residents of the spiritual world are also Satchit Ananda Vigraha. They also have a form which is made of, which is eternal, which is full of consciousness and knowledge, and which is spiritual and blissful in nature. So all this we covered in our previous session. So now let's move. Okay, a little bit more. So what else did we do, right? So in this Shandini Shakti, at the end of this description of the Tripada and the Ekapada, Brahma also told Narada Muni, ultimately everything comes from the Lord. Whether Ekapada Shakti or Tripada Shakti, whether it doesn't matter whether material or spiritual, all of them come from the Lord. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartiti. Right? The Lord says, I am the source of all creation, material and spiritual. Both of them come from him. So, therefore, Lord Brahma, he reiterates this to Narada Muni. Lord is Purusha. He is the enjoyer, the supreme benefiter, the supreme enjoyer. At the same time, he is also Isha, controller. Isha means controller. So Lord is both enjoyer, master, and controller of both Ekapada and Tripada Sandhini Shakti. In other words, both material and spiritual creation. And just like the sun, within the sun there is light, outside the sun there is also light. So anta means within, and bahi means outside, external. So the Ekapada Shakti or the material creation is like outside, whereas the spiritual energy of the Lord or internal potency of the Lord, which is the spiritual world, is like the inside of the sun, right? So the Lord is also like that. He has inside and outside. The internal energy of the Lord is the spiritual energy. The external energy of the Lord is the material energy, the shadow of the spiritual energy. And just like the sun is aloof, so although there is energy emanating and so much of energy being generated within the sun planet, and it is radiating outside the sun planet, but the sun planet is aloof. So therefore, the Lord is also aloof in the same way. Although all of creation emanates from the Lord and depends on the Lord for its maintenance, and at the end of this destruction returns back to the Lord, but nevertheless, the Lord is always aloof. So this is the Achintya Shakti. He is both here and both not here. So how is this done? So we have talked about this previously also. So this is based on his different expansions. That's why as the enjoyer, the Lord's business is only to enjoy. He doesn't do work. He doesn't have to come and do creation. He doesn't have to do maintenance. He doesn't have to do destruction. His job is only to enjoy. So in the spiritual world, he is eternally present and enjoying. But how is it at the same time also in the material world? So what happens is he expands himself. He is able to duplicate himself, expand himself. So that is called expansion or vaibhava, right? So in the spiritual world, when he expands, he is called vaibhava. So there are different types of vaibhava. So and that's in the spiritual world creation. When he comes to the material world, right, then it is called avatar. So in this way, we have Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and Shirodakashayi Vishnu. We already talked about this previously. So in this way, he comes and then he creates this material world and maintains the material world and destroys the material world, and then again creates, maintains, destroys, and again creates, maintains, destroys. And this is going on like a pattern, just like the breathing of the Lord. So with the breathing of the Lord, he breathes in, everything is destroyed. He breathes out, everything is created and maintained for some time. And then he breathes in again. So this is how it happens. But at the same time, the Lord is aloof. He is not connected to this material creation directly, indirectly only, right? So this is the special Achintya Shakti paradox. So similarly, the Lord is aloof from Ekapada, although it emanates from him. And not directly from him also, it emanates from the Virat Rupa conception. So therefore, this is the way that he maintains his aloofness. So that's why the Lord is complete. You cannot say the Lord is only one thing. You cannot say that the Lord is only impersonal. And you cannot say the Lord is only personal. Because if you say the Lord is only this or the Lord is only that, then he cannot be complete, right? Because in order to be complete, he must be both. So just like light and darkness. So you cannot say the Lord is only light. The darkness is at the back of the Lord. Remember in the earlier session, in the Virat Rupa, conception, the front of the Lord is knowledge and light. The back of the Lord is illusion, darkness, anxiety, frustration. So right. So in this way, the back of the Lord represents all this. So therefore, we can now say that the Lord is everything. So everything is the Lord. So the Lord is therefore, we can also say complete. Otherwise, we cannot say that the Lord is complete, isn't it? So, and at the same time, he is not even connected directly. He is aloof. In the spiritual world, he is separatedly aloof, constantly enjoying himself. He has nothing to do directly with the material creation, with the Virat Rupa. So this is therefore, behold, the amazing Achintya Shakti is bewildering. We cannot conceive it. It's bewildering. He can be both, right? He can be both black and white. So that is the wonderful nature of the Lord. Okay, so that's the recap of what we covered previously, right? So let's continue with our Srimad Bhagavatam session this week. So Lord Brahma now moves on. He continues. After describing this, Lord Brahma speaks to Narada. When I was born, now he talks about himself. When I was born from the abdominal lotus flower of that Maha Atmana means that great soul, that great supreme person, right? I did not know of any ingredients for yajna because nothing was there and everything was dark because in the material world, everything is dark. And he was born from the lotus and he did not see anything outside. He couldn't see anything else. Huh? So Lord Brahma is also sometimes called, one of the names of Lord Brahma is Swayambhu. Swayambhu means self-born. That means he did not have a direct father. He was not born like how the rest of the living entities in this world are born. Right? We are all born due to the father and the mother. We have a father and the mother. But but Brahma is called self-born because he's born from the lotus. So Swayambhu. But actually the lotus is coming from the Supreme Lord only. But still he is given this name, Swayambhu. So therefore he's saying this. And then he says, so I did not know of any ingredients for yajna except for the bodily limbs of the Purusha. Because at that time, he could only see Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So he was told to do yagya. So initially when he opened his eyes, when Brahma awoke, right, he was born and he opened his eyes, he couldn't see anything, everything was dark. So then he heard a sound, and the sound said tapa, two words, two syllables, tapa, tapa. Tapa means do austerity. So Brahma, he did austerity for 1000 celestial years of Brahma's lifetime, of Brahma's years, sorry, celestial years, not Brahma's years, celestial years. He did tapa, and based on that tapa, then he could see the Lord after that. And when he saw the Lord, he saw Garbhotakashai Vishnu because he was born. He tried to climb down the lotus, and then he saw the huge form of Garbhotakashai Vishnu. So that next he was given knowledge, and knowledge for creation. But before creation, there has to be yajna. There has to be sacrifice before creation. So therefore, in order to do sacrifice, you need sacrificial ingredients. So he couldn't see any ingredients except for the bodily limbs of the Purusha. So in the previous verses, we heard how everything comes from the bodily limbs of the Lord, right? We heard how the every body part of the Lord is the source of everything in this universe. So therefore, the body parts of the Lord itself is the ingredients for the yajna. So of course, not directly. This is the Virat Rupa body parts. The Virat Rupa means the material elements within this universe, which is part of the body of the Lord. So these are all the ingredients for yajna. So then Brahma says, right, for performing sacrificial ceremonies, but in order to perform yajna, one needs what? One needs ingredients. One also needs flowers. One also needs leaves. Leaves like mango leaves, banana leaves, banyan leaves, right? We also need kusha grass. So different kusha grass is a very pure grass, right? And we also need a sacrificial altar. There should be a place where the fire is big to be burnt. And we also need kala. Kala means the right suitable time. There has to be a muhurta, right? So usually, like if you talk about, and Prabhupada mentions in 1 year, the springtime is a very suitable time for yajna. So springtime is somewhere around February, March, April, like that. So that is springtime. So and that's in the year. When we also have muhurta within the month, within the day, right? So this is time. So these are the 6 ingredients, 6 things which you need in order to perform yajna. Sacrificial ingredients, like anything that we perform, anything that we can sacrifice inside the fire. It's not only food stuff, it's in material ingredients as well as effort, as well as time, as well as anything that we have, we can sacrifice that. If you want to know about the details of the sacrificial ingredients, you can read Bhagavad Gita chapter, I think chapter 4, if I'm not mistaken. It talks about the various sacrifices. Maybe I have to check on that. So, but definitely it's there in Bhagavad Gita. It talks about how the brahmacharis sacrifice their austerities into the yajna. Grihastha sacrifice sense gratification into the yajna, and then students sacrifice their austerity to study as the yajna. So, and different people, a king will sacrifice all his wealth in the yajna. So, like that, there are different ingredients of sacrifice for different classes of people and different societies. But in general, we can understand also like sacrificial ingredients is basically prosperity, like ghee, whatever that represents prosperity in our life, we sacrifice that for the pleasure of the Lord. So that's sacrificial ingredients. Okay. So then Brahma says, "Oh Satama." Satama means, "Oh most pious one," because he's talking to Narada Muni. "Oh most pious Narada Muni. Other requirements in a yajna besides these 6 are utensils. You also need utensils. And you also need grains, and you need ghee, and you need honey, and you need gold, and you need earth, and you need water." So these are all necessary ingredients to part of the yajna. So earth is used because you need you need a foundation to build the sacrificial altar. So the earth is the best foundation, right? Not tiles, not anything else. Of course, they all come from earth ultimately, right? So earth. Mm. And then the yagya kund itself is smeared with mud and cow dung. So that is also part of earth mixed with water, right? And honey and gold and all that. These are all part of the yagya itself. So then Brahma continues. So the Rig, and you also need, besides these, you also need the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Sama Veda, and you need 4 priests to perform the sacrifice. So therefore, during a fire sacrifice, a yagya, these 4 priests are there. So what is the purpose of these 4 priests? Number one, the first priest is one who can do the offering. So he takes the things and puts inside the fire. So that's all his job, to just put things into the fire. The second priest, his job is only to chant. So he chants from the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, the Sama Veda, right? And the third priest, his job is to maintain and kindle the sacrificial fire without the aid of any other fire. That means simply by the power of his mantra and by using the utensils, by pouring ghee, he is maintaining the fire. The fire cannot go out. So he has to continuously maintain the fire and feed the fire. So he even starts the fire with mantra and then he maintains it in different forms of the fire. So this is a fire expert. We have the sacrifice expert, the fire expert, the mantra expert who's chanting, and the fourth priest is one who is supervising everything. So he is the one directing and supervising. So he is the chief priest. So these are the arrangements for a full, proper yagya. Not easy, isn't it? So this is not something which is practical in this age. So this was meant in those times, right? Of course, it was there in every age. As fire sacrifice, yagya is always there in every age, but it was not the yuga dharma in different ages, except for during the Treta Yuga. The yuga dharma in different ages means that particular thing which takes more priority. So in Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dharma for sacrifice is Harinam Sankirtan. That is the sacrifice which is meant for in Kali Yuga. So Prabhupada says it is a great science. So therefore, this fire sacrifice or yajna is a great science. It's not something which is easy to do. You need lots of knowledge, lots of specific ingredients, and you need a lot of wealth, because remember, you need gold, you need ghee, you need purity, you need the purity within the ingredients and purity within the brahmanas who are doing these sacrifices. So Prabhupada says it's a great science, and due to being out of proper use for many ages, right, for more than 4,000 years, for want of qualified brahmanas. So what has happened over the years in Kali Yuga especially, such performances of sacrifice are no longer effective. So nor are they recommended for this fallen age. So therefore, this is not the main thing anymore, because it's no longer effective, right? So therefore, what is the effective thing for this age? So as I mentioned, it is Harinam. Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan. So therefore, Prabhupada says, what happened is, any such sacrifice undertaken in this age as a matter of show may simply be a cheating process by clever priestly order. But such a show of sacrifice cannot be effective at any stage. So this is what happens in Kali Yuga. We get priests who are greedy, who are lusty, who are envious, and who are not pure or clean. So when we have these kind of situations, then if they perform these kind of sacrifices, then nothing is going to come out of it. So what is the remedy? The remedy is, yes, it can continue. People can do these sacrifices, but it will not work unless and until the fix is put. What is the fix? The fix is Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Nama Eva Kevalam. Right? What does that mean? That means the only means of deliverance, Kevalam means the only way, right? Is Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Nama. Eva, only Kevalam, the means of deliverance. Kalau nasti, eva nasti, eva gatir anyataha. So in Kali Yuga, kalau nasti eva means there's no other way. Nasti eva, no other way. Again repeated. Nasti eva, no other way. Third way, third mention. Gatir anyata, to attain the spiritual perfection of life, this is the only way. And where is this mentioned? This is mentioned in the Brihad Naradiya Purana. Right? So, yeah. So then Brahma continues, Nama Deyani Mantrascha. So other necessities which is necessary for a yagya include invoking the different names of the devatas. So Nama Deyani, the different devatas, their names are sometimes invoked in the mantras. So like sometimes Indra, sometimes Chandra, sometimes Surya, sometimes Agni. So these are the devatas because they are like the in-between. So Nama Deyani. Dakshinascha Vratanicha. So Dakshinascha Vratanita means one demigod after another demigod. We are giving recompense. Recompense means we have to give dakshina. So we have to give some things to the demigods in order for them to ensure that the sacrifice is successful. So that's why certain things are put inside the yagya, particularly for those particular devatas. So the devatas will get some portion of the benefit of this yagya. They will take it, but at the same time it also continues. Devatanukkramaha kalpaha sankalpastatram evacha. So together with the yagya, one also speaks vows. Vows means there has to be some vow, like vow. One who is performing yagya has to follow some vows, like vow of silence, or vow of truthfulness, or vow of abstaining from sexual contact, or vow of doing certain things. So that kind of vow has to be followed. So that's what Prabhupada has given us also, four regulatory principles, right? No intoxication, no illicit sexual activity, no meat eating, and no gambling. So the four vows. And kalpa, you also need kalpa. Kalpahaya means scripture. So you need scripture to follow, right? And you also need sankalpa, purpose. There has to be a purpose. What is the purpose of this yagya? So different yagyas have different purpose. And finally, tantram. Tantra means the method. There are different methods for different yagya. So many things are needed for yagya. So you can imagine, it's a very complex, complicated procedure. So no wonder in Kali Yuga, many of these yagyas don't really work. So that's why, people start to lose faith. They start to lose faith, and then they feel, oh, these things don't really work. So, what's the point of all this? And then they become atheist, or they change religion and things like that. So this used to be very potent. It used to work. So this was how it was done in the previous ages. So then Brahma continues. Thus, I had to arrange all these necessary ingredients and paraphernalia of sacrifice from the personal body parts of the Purusha. So, as I mentioned, the Lord, in the form of the Virat Rupa, the universal form, he produces all the material ingredients which are necessary, right? And therefore, anyone who is within the material universe, they have a responsibility to perform yagya constantly. So therefore, these yagya are taken from the ingredients are taken from the Virat Rupa, the material, different material parts of the universe. So then he continues. So these material ingredients coming from the body of the Virat Rupa, by invocation of the demigods' names, the ultimate goal, Vishnu, was gradually attained. So this is what happens. What happens is the Lord creates everything. He produces everything within his own body as Virat Rupa. So someone living within this material creation has a responsibility to take these material ingredients, perform yagya, and yagya is a very complicated process. And in the process of yagya, they invoke the devatas. So the devatas are like the supervisors in the yagya, or you could say like, they're like the supervisors within the yagya. And if the yagyas are performed properly, then the devatas will act like the intermediary. They act like the middleman. So by invocation of the demigods' names, the ultimate goal, Vishnu, was gradually attained. So in this way, by intermediary effect, ultimately everything, the result of the yagya is going directly for the pleasure of Lord Vishnu. So therefore, ultimately, even though all the Devatas names are mentioned in the Yagya mantras, ultimately the Yagnya Ishvara or Yagneshwara or the Lord of the Yagya is Lord Vishnu. So his name has to be mentioned at the end of every Yagya. So that's why then only it is successful. So, and by doing this, the yagya is complete. It is meant for the pleasure of Vishnu. So the ingredients coming from the body of the Vishnu, of Virat Rupa, through the agency of the Devatas and through the effort of the Jiva within the material creation, is directed and channeled for the pleasure of Vishnu only. And by doing this, this process is called yagya. So just like when we pray to the sun, when sometimes we offer Surya worship, what happens? We look at the sun, we show Deepa to the sun. Now you can imagine, you show Deepa to the sun. What is Deepa next to the sun? Nothing. So in the same way, we also show Deepa to the Lord, the Supreme Lord, who is the source of millions and millions of suns. In fact, he is the source of the Brahma Jyoti. So if you show a Deepa to the Brahma Jyoti, one may think, what are you doing? You're showing a small, tiny light to the very source of the entire light in the creation. But that's the process. So that's, even though it looks like such, but that's the process because we have nothing else to offer. We don't have, everything comes from the Lord. So therefore, from the ingredients which the Lord provides only, we offer back to the Lord. Just like, again, another example is the Ganga Puja. What is done in a Ganga Puja? We enter into the water. We take the water of the Ganga in our palms of our hand. We offer with love and devotion to Ganga Devi herself. Say, you have given me this. Let me take this and offer it back to you. So that is a sign of gratitude because we have nothing else greater to offer. So in the same way, that is how we do everything in our life. For example, if a child, let's say we have a children, the child is very small. When the child is very small, let's say the child goes to kindergarten, and then the child knows about Father's Day or Mother's Day, for example, let's say, right, or birthday, and the child really wants to show his appreciation to the father or the mother. What the child does, the child uh, takes or borrows something from within the house. He takes something within the house, or he takes, and then he makes that, and he gives it back to the parents. Like, let's say the child gives the parents a card, or the child gives the parents a gift, or the child makes something for the parent. Where did the child get all these ingredients? he got it from the parent only, right? He would have asked the parent, please give me this, please give me that, please give me money, please give me this. So the parent has given only, but he has taken a portion of these things and he has given it back to the parent, correct? Just like how we give Ganga water back to Ganga, how we give offerings to the Supreme Lord, how we offer boga, everything that we eat, right? We offer to the Lord. So the Lord only has given everything, but we take this in gratitude. In gratitude, we offer it back to the Lord. So that's the concept. So this concept is called yagya. And yagya is necessary for our prosperity. It is necessary for our prosperity within this material world. It is necessary for our elevation in our spiritual life. So that is because ultimately everything has to please Vishnu, then only there is auspiciousness. Without pleasing Vishnu, there cannot be any auspiciousness anywhere in any sphere, material or spiritual. Right? So that is the concept of yajna. So, and thus the prayaschitam and samarpanam were complete. What is prayaschitam? Prayaschitam means compensation. So in Bhagavad Gita, not Bhagavad Gita, in the Ishopanishad, there is a verse. What's that verse? My memory is becoming very bad these days. Tena tyaktena bunjita magrida kasyam. Tena tyaktena bunjita magrida kasya swit dhanam. So everybody has a quota. Everyone living in every jiva living in this world has their own quota on how much to take. But if they take more than their quota, then they are called a thief. So therefore, if one takes these things without giving back to the Lord, then certainly he is a thief. So therefore, in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says the same thing in chapter 3. The verse is Yajna Shishtashina Shanto Yajna Shishtashina Shanto Muchyante Sarva Kilbisai Bunjante tu Agam Papa Ye Pachanti Atma Karanat. So he says, those who are engaged in spiritual life, they eat only food or they consume only that which has been first offered as sacrifice to Vishnu. Because those who don't do this verily eat only sin. So that is the meaning of that verse in Bhagavad Gita. So that's the reason in spiritual life we take prasadam. So when we take prasadam, there is no sin involved, and it is not only not there is no sin, it is called yagya. The prasadam itself is yagya. Simply by eating prasadam, we are performing yagya. You know, so there are different types of yagya. So if just by chanting the holy name is a yagya, simply by eating prasadam is a yagya. So this is how our entire life becomes spiritualized from everything that we do. So in the same way, the concept of yagya is also brought into every sphere of our lives. Having a family can also be yagya. If we have a family only for our own sense gratification and our own satisfaction, then it is griha medhi. It is not yagya. So if we perform, if we having a family is for the pleasure of the Lord, right? Then that becomes yagya. Everything is spiritualized. So if we have a house and that house is only for our own sense gratification, then it is griha medhi. Griha means home, house, right? But if that house is used for the satisfaction of Lord Vishnu, then that is called grihashta, or it is called yagya. How to do this? That's how bhakti yoga works. We can speak to those practicing bhakti yoga, the senior devotees. They will help us to understand. We can speak to our guru. They will tell us how to use all these things in the service of the Lord. For example, how can we use the house for the service of the Lord? We can by having a deity in the house, by worshipping the Lord in the altar, by installing the Lord as the master of this house. We are not the master of the house. We install the Lord as the master of the house. And therefore, everything we cook, we offer to the Lord. Everything we eat in the house, we offer to the Lord. and everything, and the Lord becomes the central aspect of our life. We sing for the Lord, we do arati for the Lord, we perform puja for the Lord, and we serve the devotees of the Lord in our house. We can invite devotees to come to our house. We offer our food stuff, our prasadam to the Lord, to the devotees. We invite guests. We perform preaching. We can invite family members, and we can have programs like Damodar program, like Deepavali programs, like, different programs which we can have. So in this way, we engage our resources and our facilities, include that within our aspect. So then we spiritualize everything within that we have, right? So then it becomes complete. Thus, Brahma is saying, I created the ingredients and paraphernalia for offering sacrifice out of the parts of the body of the Purusha Yajna. So the Purusha is called Purusha Yajna, the Lord of the Yajna. He is called the Supreme Lord. He is Purusha Yajna, right? And so this is Purusha Yajna on the right, and on the left is the Purusha, where all the ingredients are drawn from. So this is a cycle of gratitude and a cycle of recognition that we depend upon the Lord ultimately. So this helps us to surrender. So when we perform these kinds of yagyas, when we develop this kind of consciousness, it helps us to surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord. What's that verse? Sarva dharma parityagya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mukshayishyami masucha. So to surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, to abandon all varieties of religion, and to completely surrender to the Lord, and in this way He will deliver us from everything. So then Brahma says, and I perform the sacrifice to satisfy Ishwaram. So Brahma here represents all of us. So he is the ultimate grandsire who created this, who is the grandfather. So all of us have a position in our families, right? Somebody is a grandfather, somebody is a father, somebody is a child, somebody is a mother, somebody is an uncle, whatever, right? So Lord Brahma is representing the family unit. He's representing all living entities, and he's representing all societies, and he is showing by his example how everything has to be taken, our quota has to be taken, and it has to be first offered to the Lord as sacrifice, yagya, right? Bhagavad Gita is there, right? Chapter 3, Krishna says, perform yagya, Arjuna. In the beginning of creation, the Lord of all living entities has sent forth yagya for your prosperity only. So if one doesn't do these yagyas, then there cannot be any prosperity within this material creation. So therefore, and I perform the sacrifice to satisfy Ishvara, the supreme controller. Why is the Lord called Ishvara? Because he is the proprietor of everything. Because he is the friend of all living creatures. So therefore, we have another verse in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Chapter 5, the last verse. Bhuktaram Yajna Ishwaram. Bhuktaram Yajna Bhuktaram Yajna Tapasham. Bhuktaram Yajna Tapasham Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Suhurdam Sarva Bhutanam Nyatva Mam Shantim Richati. Right. So that means I am the Bhuktaram Yajna Tapasham. Bhukta means the enjoyer. Yajna Tapasham. I am the enjoyer of all your yajnas and all your tapasyas. So whatever sacrifices that you are doing, whatever austerities that you perform, do it for me. So, there's another verse he says in chapter 9. Yat karoshi yat akinasi yat tapasya kaunteya. So whatever that you eat, whatever that you do, whatever charity that you perform, whatever sacrifices that you carry out, whatever austerities that you perform, do it as an offering to me. And when we do that, that becomes bhakti yoga. Yoga means to connect to the Supreme Lord. That becomes our bridge, our connection to the Supreme Lord. And when we are connected to the Supreme Lord, who is spiritual completely, then we are also spiritualized. And that is the speciality of yoga, of bhakti yoga, right? It makes it very easy for everybody to do. We don't have to do complex yagya. We don't have to have complicated. We don't need to have 4 priests. We don't need to have gold also. We don't need to have a yagya kund. We simply have to make our life a yagya. Everything that our purpose, our goals, our activities, our work, our family, our everything that we perform in our, that if we do that, right, that is the perfection of our life. Our life itself becomes yagya. And no yagya is complete without the nama of the Lord. So remember, in Kali Yuga, the main yagya is the Harinam Sankirtan, chanting the names of the Lord. It is both the completion of the yagya, it is also the yagya itself. So just chanting the name of the Lord itself is a yagya. Simply chanting the name of the Lord is enough. That is the name, that is yagya already. We don't need to do any other yagya. But at the same time, we are not only chanting the names of the Lord, isn't it? We are also doing other things. If we are like Haridas Thakur, 24 hours a day, he is only chanting the names of the Lord, then fine, right? But we also need to eat. So therefore, we also perform yagya by eating prasadam. We also need to work and maintain ourselves and our family. So the work also becomes a yagya if we do it in the consciousness that we are doing it for the Lord's pleasure. And we do not become attached to the fruits of our work. And at the same time, we contribute a portion of those work for the benefit of the Lord's pleasure, right? Either in sponsoring festivals, in serving devotees, in upholding the society, sannyasis, brahmacharis, and so forth, and in preaching work. So all of these things. So this is all. Uh, so ideally, one should give 50% of all that we do for the pleasure of the Lord. Then it is perfect yagya. But if we cannot bring ourselves to do 50%, of 100% is the best, but 50% is also is a good ideal. But if cannot, then at least step by step, we for whatever that we have, we can start giving more and more and more. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. As you take your steps towards me, Arjuna, I also, to that degree, I reciprocate. So the Lord's reciprocation depends on our surrender. The more we surrender, ultimately sarvadharma parityagya, ultimately complete surrender. But we cannot, complete surrender comes with practice. So we have to practice step by step, every year, every day, little by little by little, step by step. And as we grow older, we can surrender more and more. Ultimately, surrender everything to the Lord. So Prabhupada says, the word sacrifice suggests dedication of one's own interest. Nowadays, we have Hari Raya sacrifice. So that is it's that's there, right? But it's sometimes these things are all hijacked. People think sacrifice means killing other things, killing living creatures or whatever. But sacrifice means, the word itself makes sense, right? What is sacrifice? Sacrifice means something I hold dear to me, I'm giving it up. Like, for example, money. Money is dear to all of us, but we give it up. So that is sacrifice. Not we go and kill something and then that is called sacrifice. No, that is not sacrifice. So the word sacrifice suggests dedication of one's own interest for satisfaction of a second person. When that second person is the Supreme Lord, then it's perfect. That is the way of all activities. Every man is engaged in sacrificing his interest for others, either in the form of family, in the form of society, community, country, or the entire human society. But when we sacrifice for the pleasure of the Lord, automatically all of these other things are already satisfied. We don't have to do anything separately when we perform these sacrifices for the Lord's pleasure. So, in other words, when we perform bhakti yoga, when we chant the holy names of the Lord, when we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, when we regularly, mind you, so every day or regularly we do these things, right? Then we don't need to do any other sacrifice. That's because already when we pour water to the roots of the tree, the entire tree is satisfied, right? When we take the food and put into our mouth, our entire body is satisfied. So when we pour our yagya for the pleasure of Yagneshwara, all aspects of our lives is satisfied. So simply by chanting the holy names, right, we have everything can be satisfied. One does not have to do this yagya, this tarpanam, that puja, this puja. Oh, Amavasya coming, oh, this, that, this, serve this entity, save this devata, that devata puja, this go puja, whatever it is, no necessity for it. Even if we do it for the pleasure of the Lord, but there is no necessity. One has to understand this very clearly. There is no necessity. We can do if we want to, with the consciousness that everything goes for the purpose, for the service of the Lord, but there is no necessity. So nobody should be able to come and cheat us and tell us, oh, if you don't do this, your ancestors will be suffering in hell, or if you don't do this yagya, there won't be shanti. So no such thing. So if one is a devotee, if one is not a devotee, then one has to do these things. But if one has taken up bhakti yoga, he has taken up spiritual life seriously, every day chanting 16 rounds, following 4 regulative principles, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, doing service, sacrificing some portions of his profits for the pleasure of the Lord, for the pure devotees, maintaining the family for Krishna consciousness, then there is nothing else they need to do. Prabhupada is very clear about this. He mentions this in many, many places. But these days, Kali Yuga, people don't have too much faith in many of these things. So they are, so therefore, and then people take advantage of this lack of faith also. So coming in the guise of pseudo devotees. So that's why Bhagavatam, the second verse of Bhagavatam, what does the second verse of Bhagavatam say? Dharmo projito kaitavo atra paramo nirmatsaranam satam. This Srimad Bhagavatam is not dealing with any cheating religion. No cheating religion. All these other things are called cheating religion. So this Bhagavatam is pure, amalam. It deals only with the pure nature of spiritual life. So it rejects completely Kaitava Dharma. Kaitava Dharma means all these other kinds of Dharma, which is, for the purpose of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, for the purpose of religiosity, mundane, and all this satisfying the desire, earning, economic development, and even liberation. Bhagavatam rejects all of this and only focuses on Savai Pumsam Paror Dharmo. What is that ultimate dharma? Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo. Ultimate dharma. Savai Pumsam Paro Dharmo Yator Bhaktir Adok Saje. That supreme occupation or that supreme dharma or that supreme religion or that supreme sacrifice or work is Yator Bhaktir Adoksaje. Its bhakti is to perform bhakti to Adoksaja. Adoksaja is that person who is beyond all material things, who cannot be seen within these material senses. So that person is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Vasudevam Sarvam Iti. Everything is Vasudeva, right? So that is the idea. Savai Pumsam Parodharmor Yator Bhakti Radok Saje Ahaituki Apratihata, without expecting any return, without expecting any gain, without any ulterior motive, only for the pleasure of the Lord. And Ahaituki Apratihata, constantly, Not that once in a blue moon we do this, not that once a year we do this. Every day we do this. That is called pure bhakti, and that is called paro dharma, the ultimate dharma. And that is what Prabhupada established. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is meant ultimately for all of us to become like this. So we are all trying, we are working and stepping. So we must have a strategy, we must have a plan, we must discuss these things with our guru, with our seniors, with the devotees, and constantly we must think about how we can advance in our spiritual life, how we can do more, how we can, you know, so sometimes our lives are a mess, right? But we must not always be having a mess in our life. We must have a plan how we can get rid of this mess, how we can organize our life better, how we can come to a point where we can. So that is mode of goodness. Until we come to the mode of goodness, our life will always be the mess. How do we come to the mode of goodness? By practicing bhakti alone. Bhakti is the medicine, it is also the feast. So by performing bhakti yoga, we will naturally come to the point of mode of goodness. You will see that after many years of, or even forget about many years, even after a few days of serious bhakti practice, you will see that we are so different in our consciousness. But because we don't continue, then we go back to our situation. So, sometimes we go for yatra, for like we go to a pilgrimage, we go to a holy place, we follow devotees, we go with the gurus, and for several days of yatra, we feel so blissful. Everything is so perfect, blissful, right? Or sometimes when the devotees are here, when very nice advanced senior devotees visit our centers and stay. So while they are here, it is so nice because we are constantly charged up with their presence, and we are also very much in the mode of goodness, and we are performing transcendental activities. But sometimes, again, it goes down. So in our current situation, our bhakti is up and down, up and down, up and down. So therefore, it is kanishta. There is no steadiness. But one must progress. One cannot remain kanishta constantly. One has to come to the point of madhyam. Madhyam means middle level devotion. So that can be done. How can be done? Constant hearing, constant chanting. We must not give it up. And no aparad. We must not shoot ourselves in the foot by performing aparad. We must be very careful of aparad. We must understand what is aparad, and we must stay away from sin also. Durena hi avaram karma bhakti yoga dhananjaya. So we must stay away from forbidden activities. So that's why Prabhupada made it perfect. He made it very simple and he made it perfect. Follow four regulative principles. By following four regulative principles, we stay away from all nonsense activities and we purify our existence. And add chanting Hare Krishna to it. And add hearing every day and puja every day, right? Even a simple altar we keep at home, right? Just come and sit in front of the altar, do some simple incense, deepa, whatever, right? According to our standards, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? Eat prasadam. That's all. Very, very basic. We don't have to go to the forest. We don't have to do Mauna Vridam for 1 year. We don't have to, stand upside down. We don't have to pierce our bodies in different things. We don't have to walk on fire. We don't have to, we don't have to do these things. Just every day. The mode of goodness is constance. Constant. It cannot be one day we do, another day we don't do, another day we don't do. How can we be constant? The secret is good association. That's why Rupa Goswami, he says, Jana Sangha Tyaga. We are very careful about our association, our club, our society. So if we surround ourselves constantly with good association, either by hearing or with physical presence of devotees, then it becomes very easy. So anyway, I'm going too long in this. Let's continue. But perfection of such sacrifices is attained when they are performed for the sake of the Supreme Person, the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is He only and no one else who should be satisfied by all sacrifices. Therefore, He is Yagneshwara ultimately. The whole world is engaged in sacrificing energy for advancement of learning, social upliftment, economic development, improvement of the human condition. Therefore, there is no peace in the world because no one is doing sacrifice for the pleasure of the Lord. That is why Harinam Sankirtan is so important. That's why Prabhupada established this process in our society. Our society's main goal is to spread the holy name to everybody. We ourselves chant the holy name. We ourselves do Harinam in our own homes. And we also preach this to others. And we congregate together in the temple. And together we do this Harinam Sankirtan. And we also bring this Harinam Sankirtan outside, especially like Radha Yatra. It's a supreme, wonderful opportunity to do Harinam Sankirtan. You know, it's very sad. Sometimes we go for Radha Yatra and nobody chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Only the leader is chanting and that's it. And maybe a few people are chanting. We should all join together and chant is Harinam Sankirtan during Radha Yatra. And can you imagine the effect it will have? Everybody within the Radha Yatra is chanting wholeheartedly, and the echo and the reverberation that will go all over with the Lord Himself being present, you know how powerful that will be. It will be amazing. So that was how the ISKCON society was spread all over the world. When they did their first Radha Yatras in San Francisco, in New York City, in London, in different parts of the world, this was how the devotees did it. They all chanted, they all jumped in ecstasy, they all danced, and it created a sensation that blew the minds of everybody. They were all thinking, wow, all the news, all the journalists will come and cover these stories because it was so amazing. So it's not quantity, sometimes it's quality also. So when we do, if we cannot go for every festival or every Radha Yatra, those that we do go, we should give our 100%. We should go and just immerse ourselves in this, especially when we go to, when there's an opportunity for Arati, when we are in the temple and when we are in front of the Lord, when Arati is happening, we should all sing. We should all sing with our heart. And even if we don't know how to sing, doesn't matter. We should just sing. It's the names that are important, not the music, not the rhythm, not the whatever. It is the names. That is Harinam Sankirtan. My dear son, Brahma is saying, therefore, your 9 brothers, who are masters of the living creatures, perform the sacrifice with proper rituals. So, Narada Muni had 9 brothers. Before Narada Muni, there were, for the first were Sanat Kumaras, the 4 Kumaras, and then Lord Shiva also came from Brahma in that sense. Although Lord Shiva is higher than Brahma, but these are all Leelas. He came as a son of Brahma. And then we also have, of course, he's called Rudra in that form, right? And then we also have, who else? Daksha. We have Kapila. We have many others. So 9 of them. I can't remember all of them at the moment. So therefore, 9 of those, they are all masters of living creatures, perform this. So it's very important for great personalities to set good example. Yat yat acharati shreshtas tat tat eve jana jata. Sorry, yat yat acharati shreshtas tat tat jana, tat, I can't remember now. Yat yat acharati shreshtas tat tat. Anyway, the verse means that whatever a great person does, common people are sure to follow. So therefore, we have to set good examples. So that's what's missing in this world these days. That's one of the main problems of this world. We have family where the family used to follow many things, but because of the effect of Kali Yuga and because of the corruption of the Brahminical society, uh, knowledge was lost, and a lot of misuse came about, and people started to lose faith. And because there was no proper knowledge, people didn't understand why certain things were being done in a certain way. So it became just merely rituals. So the older generation, they understood, they knew how to do the rituals, but they forgot why they were doing them. And they forgot the details of the important aspect, the philosophy behind these things. So as a result, they couldn't explain many things to the next generation. So the next generation started to see, why are we doing these things? These are creating so much of difficulty for us. I have to do this, I have to do that. And when they asked these questions, the older generation couldn't explain them properly. So then the younger generation started to lose more faith. And together with the rise of Kali Yuga, with more and more irreligiosity, with more and more bad association, it is only natural that the faith eroded until the current generation hardly does anything which has to do with spirituality. It is now unfashionable to be religious. It is labeled as not being progressive. It is something called old fashioned traditionalist. So that's simply because of ignorance. They don't understand that they are only shooting themselves in the foot. For all the progression in the world, for all the so-called progressive thoughts and modernization and advancement, what has it brought about? It has increased only misery upon misery, misery compounded upon misery, misery invested upon misery. What is there satisfaction in the world? Nobody is happy in this world. There is so divorce rates are high, broken families are increasing, suicide rates are increasing. For all the advancement, for all the so-called progressiveness, you don't. What's the outcome? What's the result? They will fall silent when we ask them these things, right? So that's the thing. So it is important, therefore, in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is a very unique society. It is the only society where the basis and the foundation of that society is the scriptures. If you go to every other society in this world, the foundation is not a scripture. It is some charismatic person who will lead that society. But Prabhupada, although he himself was very charismatic, right, he ensured that the foundation was scripture. So that is the point, because it has to be linked to the Supreme. We cannot manufacture a solution. The solution has to come from the Supreme Lord, who is the master and creator of this society, of this universe. So International Society of Krishna Consciousness is teaching everybody. Therefore, education is so important. It is stressed in spiritual life, right? One has to know the philosophy, one has to know the tattva, so that one understands why we are doing what we are doing. And we have to understand tattva so that one can counteract Maya. Otherwise, Maya will overwhelm us. If we don't know these things, it's very easy for anybody to just bewilder our mind. Somebody can just come out of the blue and say something, and because we don't understand tattva, we become bewildered by their by the force of their personality, by the sweet words they may use, by the word jugglery that they may have, by the followers that they may have. So these things will bewilder our minds. So that's why a firm foundation on Srila Prabhupada's books. We don't have to aim big. Every day we hear Prabhupada's lecture, or we hear lecture of Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear or we read Prabhupada's books. Just a few verses, a few chapters, and we discuss them. If we have doubts, we clarify these doubts with devotees. We must not carry doubts with us, because if we have doubts in our hearts, then we cannot be strong in our spiritual focus, right? That Bhagavad Gita, what's the verse that says about this? Bhagavad Gita, uh, Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kuru nandana bahushaka hi anantascha buddhayo avyavasayanam. Steadfast devotional service and practice in spiritual life cannot take place if one is not single focused, single minded focus. If one's intelligence is many branched, that means he is bewildered by many things and his faith is not strong, then this problem will arise. So, so Prabhupada says, in this age of Kali, the manifested demigods are also not to be seen because space travel has completely stopped. So it's, yeah, occasionally they may be there. So sometimes we have these UFO incidences. So it's nothing but the travel of various, Vimana is a Sanskrit word. What is Vimana? Vimana means aircraft. And we have different dimensions, different planets. All this is within our scriptures. So obviously this universe has different people, and because of lack of knowledge, we call them UFOs, unidentified objects. Because of lack of knowledge, because we don't know, we cannot identify, right? But those days, the rishis and all, space travel was common in the previous yuga. But in Kali Yuga, there is no space travel. The devatas are not shown because even to see someone, we have to have qualification, right? You want to see the prime minister. Can you just say, I want to see the prime minister? Can you just walk into the room? Can you just walk into the prime minister's building and walk into his office and tell his secretary, I want to see him? We can't. We need to have certain qualifications in order to see the prime minister, right? So to see God, we need to have certain qualifications. And to see even devatas in Kali Yuga, whatever qualifications that we had in previous yuga is gone. In Kali Yuga, we are so unqualified, we cannot even see the devatas. What to speak of the devatas, we cannot even see higher beings like the apsaras or the kinaras or the charanas or the gandharvas. There may be one or two rare occasions. So that's what it is. So that's how it's happening nowadays, right? So age of Kali, Prabhupada says space travel has stopped. So anyway, Lord Brahma is telling to Narada Muni, oh, okay, it's already 9:35. All right, we will stop here, right? This is verse 30. So we stopped at verse 29, right? So basically it's going on. Lord Brahma, I'll just sum up with what Lord Brahma is going to say after this for the next few verses. He's going to talk more about the aspect, and then he will speak about himself. There will be one part where he will start talking about himself, and then uh, he will speak about his creation. It'll get quite interesting in the next chapters onwards, and then it will lead towards directly into the Lord's various avatars, the Lord's Leela avatars, the various pastimes that the Lord does, and then it will expand more and more into various cantos of Bhagavatam, where we will hear in detail about the Lord's pastimes. So this is and in the next few chapters, in the next few sessions, we will also hear why it is important for us to hear about all these things, about creation, about Virat Rupa, about material ingredients, about the various elements, why it is important for us to know about material creation. So we will hear about this in our next session or in the session after that. So but in the meantime, let us have our full interest and our full attention in hearing about all of these things, because it's very, very important for us to understand these things. And the reason for that will be disclosed shortly. All right, so we stop here. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rataraj, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Any questions? Any clarifications? Anyone wants to clarify? Anything you don't agree with, we can discuss. Anything you have a doubt about, not fully convinced about some points, no worries. Any question is open. Any kind of whatever challenge or whatever, we are happy to answer peacefully. And the whole purpose is to remove doubts. So anyway, no worries if you don't have anything right now, because you can, we need time to process all this information. So if you do have at any other time, my suggestion to you is in your life, as you're going about, if you have anything that doubt comes in your mind, immediately jot it down. Put it down in a notepad or put it in your phone. Have a notepad where it says questions, doubts, right? And collect all these things, and then I'm happy to answer these things. So you can just send it to me in WhatsApp, or you can ask during the classes. Right, there's one question by Janavi. Talking about UFO, which part of the world are they coming from? Yeah. If they are not from our earth, are they someone on an elevated souls? Yeah. So yeah, those who come from other parts of the universe, they are all higher than us. So previously we mentioned how the universe is divided into 7 upper planetary systems and 7 lower planetary systems. Or it can also be divided into 3 levels. The Bhuvar Loka, which is the subterranean planets below Earth. There are 7 of them. And then there's Bhuloka. Bhuloka is Earth until the Gandharva Lokas. And then there is beyond that, which is Swarga Loka, all the way up to Brahma Loka. So in this way, there are different categories of planets. And we talked about in our previous sessions, we also spoke about the various species. There are so many different kinds of people. There are the Gandharvas. The descriptions we spoke about briefly about them. The Gandharvas are those who are able to sing very, very sweetly, it seems. Expert musicians, they also have magical powers. They have, special abilities, and they all fly in various aircrafts. And then there is the Chanaras, a different type of species, the Kinaras. The Kinaras are half 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 human, half animal face. Either they have animal face or they have animal body. Like during Ram Leela, many of the Kinaras took birth in earth as monkeys, half men, or half bears. So like that. So those are Kinaras. They are also one type. Even within Bhuloka itself, there are so many planets. Forget about higher planets. Forget about the Devalokas. Within Bhuloka itself, within our plane of existence itself, there are many planets. We will speak about all these in detail in Canto 5. So it's still a long time to go for Canto 5. But all this information is there. Don't worry. Srimad Bhagavatam is the answer to all your questions. With patience, we will see all of this. So, and there's one more question. If they are higher souls, why is their fixtures featured as disfigured? Some of these things are concocted. They are not necessarily true, right? Sometimes it's conspiracy theory. We have certain people in certain governments who are releasing certain things which are not necessarily true for certain purposes, right? But at the same time, they may not be revealing everything also. So that's one thing. Second thing is there are also lower planetary systems who can also travel. So some of them have fearsome features. So that could also be there, right? There's one description of lizard-like creatures. So there are subterranean planetary systems. They are serpentine and lizard-like. So they can also be, they could also be such people also. So there are both. There are the divine and the demoniac. Both are there. So according to the nature of this world, it depends who we are attracting, lah. So if the world is demonic in nature, so then for holiday they may come, the demonic people may come for holiday here. I'm speculating, but anyway, that's the idea behind that. But the point here is there are higher beings, there are lower beings, there are higher beings in the higher planetary systems, there are higher beings in the lower planetary systems. So the lower beings means the plants and the animals. The higher beings can be both demonic as well as divine. And they can live above and as well as below our planetary systems. So yeah, so this is there. So we are not alone in this universe. We are not the only planet. There are many others as well. And sometimes we need qualifications to be able to see them because they have higher in Kali Yuga, there is a agreement, right? Based on the nature of the world, that in Kali Yuga, certain things are not done, certain things are not shown, certain things are not revealed. It's a very special time of the Yuga where it's happening. So these rules apply. In previous ages, they were able to see. In fact, it's described in Mahabharata in Prithu Maharaja's Yagya, the Devatas themselves, even during Yudhishthira Maharaja's Yagya in our previous age, the Yagya was so successful that the Devatas directly came in their heavenly aeroplanes to came down to take their portion of the effect of the Yagya. So this was described. So that happens very rarely in the previous age, but that was in Dwapara Yuga. But in Treta Yuga, it was happening quite frequently. And in Satya Yuga, it was practically the norm, right? Every time you will see heavenly beings coming and going. But in Kali Yuga, no. Right? Any other questions?
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
So sorry, very quick two questions.
Hmm.
The first one, let's say we are so work bound that we offer maybe breakfast in the morning to the Lord as a prasadam, but then when we are outside at work, then we have no time. We buy food from restaurants, or how do we then spiritualize the food?
Yeah.
How do we do that? And then the second question is, you were saying that 50% of our salary is to be, ideally, should be offered as sacrifice for temple worship or devotee contribution.
Yes.
But is it possible to say that once we reach a certain space of retirement, that this can be done, or must we do it now itself? This 50%.
No,
Hare
okay.
Krishna.
All right, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for the questions, Prabhu. Very nice questions. So the first question is about the practicality of prasadam. So yes, ideally we should have prasadam every day in all our meals. But in certain situations when we are not, so the thing is we cannot do these things overnight sometimes. So sometimes it takes time and we have to plan and organize and work our way. Like when I can give you my example. When I started off in devotional service 20 plus years ago, right, I wasn't eating prasadam every day. And then slowly, little by little, started with at least one day prasadam we take, right? And then after that, as we hear more, as we chant more, what happens is something very interesting. Guilt comes into our heart. We feel our relationship with the Lord more and more. So that will somehow, by hook or by crook, will help us to make way for our life. We can arrange certain things in our life step by step. Even sometimes when we are not able to do it, the very fact that we feel that guilt, or where we feel that, oh, I'm not doing this, I should be doing this, but I can't, but I should be. Even thinking that way is purifying, because it all starts with a desire. And when the desire becomes very strong, then somehow we will find a way to do it. So sometimes, and the key to this is simple living, high thinking. So sometimes we just a simple food, like for example, uh, like nowadays I cook every day. We prepare prasadam. So sometimes, it's just very simple. Like we have to rush at 8 o'clock or leave at home very early. So at maybe what we do, I have a slow cooker, for example. We just put some dal in. Sometimes it's just dal and rice, or we bring some yogurt or some, what do you call, pickle. So it's at least it's prasad, and we can add. And then sometimes when we have no choice, when it's difficult, right? Once in a while, okay. Like initially, I used to be what are the things, like some practical suggestions I can do is, as we advance in our spiritual life, we can set certain guidelines. Like you can say, okay, I will only eat prasadam, I will only eat non-prasadam 3 times a day or 3 times a week. Other days, I will somehow or rather make sure that it's prasadam, right? Or and then like that, I will increase 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, or maybe just one time I eat outside, right? Or sometimes, when we are traveling, okay, okay, this is a special situation. What we can do is, at least we can offer it in our mind. So when food is there, when it's not prasadam, when food is there given to us, one thing is, when we pay for that food, some amount of that karma is removed. And then secondly is, we can offer this in our mind, telling Krishna, Krishna, I'm trying, but at this point, I'm not able to do this yet, but I understand that I should be doing this. And then kindly please accept this offering. It's about consciousness and prayer. We can offer this as a prayer sincerely in our heart and say this to the Lord. So, and the Lord is very wonderful. He will somehow make arrangements for you in the future. If we are sincere, actually, all we need is some sincerity. And even if we are not able to do it, the Lord works in mysterious ways to make that arrangement come true. Like I couldn't imagine, honestly speaking, when I first came to Krishna consciousness, I couldn't imagine being vegetarian. I was thinking, my God, how will I ever be? And then it's a long way. I can't even remember some of the things, but it's a long way that it happened. And then when I started working, I couldn't even imagine that I would start cooking, or we will start doing things. We are offering prasadam, but along the way, little by little by little, it's a gradual process, and a lot of it is with association. So I really, we should have quality association with devotees. We should discuss these things when we meet each other in the temple. Sometimes these things in face to face, devotees, senior devotees, can give lots of hints, lots of support, lots of ideas on how we can do things. So yeah, so those are the things. Another thing I do for myself, I memorize this verse, Yajna Shistashina Shanto. So this verse is saying that each time we eat outside food, it is sin. So when I repeat this verse again and again every day, so it reinforces some guilt into me, and it helps me to help me to be more regulated in prasadam. So that's another thing which we can do. So in spiritual life, guilt is positive. It's not negative. It helps us because our whole process in spiritual life is to be humble. We should not think we are great devotees. We should always think we are so fallen. We should always think we are so far away. So, and that will help us to advance step by step by step by Krishna's grace. So yeah, so practically one thing is to offer a prayer to the Lord when we are eating non-prasad, and we pray to the Lord, right? Please kindly accept this. It's not ideal, but it is definitely better than complete sense gratification. So that's one. And then for the second question, what was the second you were mentioning? Sorry, I forgot. Prabhu?
Prabhu, so when you mentioned at 50% of your salary,
Yes. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, now I remember. Right. So that's also something which you come step by step. So in the beginning, like for example, there's an in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a person called Kolevecha Sridhar. He was very poor. He was only selling banana leaves in the market to earn his living. But whatever he was earning, he would spend half of it for the worship of Mother Ganga, and half of it for his own maintenance. Of course, he was living very, very simply. So simple living, high thinking, we have to cut our cloth according, we have to cut our clothes according to our cloth. So we have to think of ways to simplify our life, and how we can maintain this. At the same time, that 50% is also part of whatever we eat. For example, if we are if you know, half of that, okay, at least let's say 20% of whatever we earn is going into food, and if that food is offered to the Lord, then that's already 20%, right? And what to speak of, just cash or money. And sometimes, even if we cannot afford many things, time is also a commodity. How do we value your time? So if, let's say, my time is worth 100 ringgit or 150 ringgit, or according to the whatever work, right? If that time we spend in serving, in doing service, so that is also one way to look at it. Another way is also, uh, for example, how you use your facilities. So let's say we buy certain things, and this facility is used for the service of the Lord and for devotees. Like, for example, house, car, sometimes, let's say I'm buying a computer. So this computer I'm using, let's say, a lot of things is used for the service of the Lord, for preaching or whatever, right? So that is also indirectly. So it's not just directly 50%, whatever. The 50% is not made up of only direct cash. It is also made up of in-kind services that we are dovetailing. So the more we dovetail our life, the more automatically all these things approach 50%. So, and as we grow older, as we retire, so we have a plan. So having a plan helps. I may not be that level at this point, but I'm going to reach there one day, and I will go through it step by step. So maybe, we have New Year's resolutions every year. I'm going to increase a little. I'm going to do this. I'm going to add this into this. I'm going to add this into my life. So in this way, we go on year by year. Certainly success is guaranteed. It's a step-by-step marathon, Prabhu. If somebody can do it straight away, that's wonderful. But more importantly, we have to be consistent, and we have to keep this steady. So a steady progress is what is very, very important in the spiritual life. And you'll find in 20 years' time, wow, you look back at yourself, at what you were, you will see, tangible progress, and you will see that, I should, this works. It gives you extra additional faith. It gives you a lot of conviction and motivation to go on. I hope that answered the question, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So if we ever have chance, we can always talk more. If you see face to face, I'm happy to discuss any of these things face to face if you ever come. At the same time, happy to answer anything as well. All right. So thank you for your questions. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here with me as well. And your presence is also motivating me very much. I'm very happy to be involved in this service. So, Vanchakalpa, Tarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, Patithanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. Have a good weekend. See you all. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.